found that netiquette was higher for females than males. And the other also found, the other study found that as a year level increase, netiquette level increase. However, the number of years spent using the internet does not seem to have any significant effect on their net ethical behavior. So they found out that it doesn't mean that the longer that you use the internet, the higher is their netiquette level. It's not. So this is very important that we teach this one to our students. And as future teachers, you apply this one. And when you become teachers and when you teach online or when you become teachers, you also share this one to your students because everybody is in the internet. I believe this webinar was conducted for the students to remind students, and I would like to emphasize, who are future teachers, about appropriate behavior in an online environment. So aside from the fact that maybe majority of the students that who are with us right now and the teachers that we have right now are conducting classes online, or for the students, they're taking their classes online. And aside from that, you are also part of a social media platform, so such as Facebook, which is for social networking, Twitter for microblogging, Instagram for photo sharing, and YouTube for video sharing. So maybe some of you have YouTube channels. You will notice later that I will not only talk about the best way to behave in your online classes, but in the whole of the internet as well. So I divided my talk into two parts. The first part is on communication, and the second part is about sharing information. So effective communication is crucial and is considered a key to success in online education. That is why courtesy and politeness is important when communicating online. So how should we behave, or how should we communicate synchronously and asynchronously? For example, your teacher or you told your students that you're going to have video conferencing. So it's very important to be courteous and presentable. So be on time. So if it says that you start at 7, then you start at 7. And let's not forget to be in proper attire, most especially if you will be asked to turn on your webcams. Do not just wear your house clothes or leave your hair unkempt because you think na tan-aon lang bitaw mo diri sa video. So if you're a student, think that you're like in a classroom. So magsuot ta og tarong, manglipyo na sa atong nawong, tarong na to atong buhok. And as much as possible, have a clutter-free background. So walay daghang samok sa likod, basi naapay labhanan, naapay mga way hugas ng mga plato. So kung pwede limpyo atong luyo as much as possible. Pero di man ta ka-demand ana good kay ang uban man good sa toa, medyo luoy ang situation sa balay nga lisod kay posisyon. Ang uban pa gani mo gawas pa sa abuhan para makakuha og signal sa internet. Pero kung kaya nato ang atong background hinlo, way daghang samok, so dito ta mo position. And it's very important also that when you have video conferencing, not a lot of people will pass by sa imuhang likod. Kay especially when you turn on your your camera, makita na mga maglabay-labay sa likod, and it can be quite distracting. And also, it's very important to put your microphone in mute if your teacher asks you. So ang uban automatic siya mo mute. So kung dili siya automatic naka-mute, i-mute siya and then you wait for your turn to speak. So do not monopolize the discussion. So have you tried being in a video conference nga tanan naka-on ang microphone, saba ka siya sa tanan. So if gi-open na ang mic kapag di mastorya, do not monopolize it. Dili lang tapatakag storya, do not blah gibberish. So siguro as a teacher, you tell your students that if you want to talk, you raise your hand and you wait to be acknowledged, tapos i-unmute, then you talk. Dili ta magdungan. It's the same rules that we have in the classroom. Dili man nato ipadungan og storya atong mga estudyante, di ba? And pay attention. So kung ako gusto gyud na ako makita na ako ang mga nawong, kay makita na ako ang reaction. So kung open man ang camera, do not do other things such as eating, cutting your nails, or worse, picking your nose. So muratag naminaw gyud nga tinuod sa classroom. Remember, when your webcam is on, everybody will see you. So it's basically, as I've mentioned, it's basically the same rules that we have in the classroom, right? You do not come to class in house clothes and you wait for your turn to speak in class. It is very important that for teachers, they give their students reminders about what are the rules in the online classroom. So, mas maayo maghimutang netiquette statement that when you have video conferencing, mauni ang atoang rules. If you send me email, these are the rules. So, it's a reminder for them kay we can't expect them to know this one. Or kabalo siguro sila, pero kinahanglan lang yun sila i-remind. This is very important because others may think that things can be informal because the class is online. So feeling na ito, murag wala lang siya. No, it shouldn't be. So if bandwidth allows and the number of students is manageable, it would be nice that all the cameras are turned on because the teacher gets to see the facial expressions and reactions. Diba sa classroom, gwapo kayo nga makita dyan mo kung ang bata nahimot siya or na-confuse sia. So, mo siyang advantage if you see your students' faces. Pero kung maglisod gid sa bandwidth, so wala gid tay choice. I saw an online post about a teacher who just turned off his camera because none of his students turned on their cameras. So murag sad kayo siya, kailangan siya rin naka-on, ang the rest naka-off. Tapos, dili to sa Philippines, so murag na sila sa country nga kusog ang internet. So remember, we are all in this situation because of the pandemic. Kabalo gyud ko nga lisod gyud siya sa ato ang tanan. Ang uban wala siya naglisod, okay. Pero I think a lot of us finds it difficult, not just for the teachers but for the students as well. For the students, if you hate having to take your class online, but I think sa IIT gipa-choose mo kung kaya ninyo online or nga pwede ka dili online. But kung napili nimo online ug murag wa na gyud ka ganahi, ayaw i-blame inyong teachers. You just have to imagine the amount of time and effort they put in making their classes online sa inana kagamay nga panahon. So imagine your teacher, na siya 7 ka sections, 7 ka klase, gibuhat siya online. So dili siya inana kadali. For the teacher's part, I think the same understanding has to be given as well. Dili gyud ta ka-demand kay naagi uban natong estudyante, lisod jud kayo ang internet sa ilahang lugar. Fact, magyud na siya sa ato sa Philippines. Ang uban pa gani ang ilang cellphone kay dili maka-internet. So it's very important that everyone is understanding at this. We are very understanding at this time. And another thing to remember, when you have your video conferencing, di ba na chat or message box? So please use it wisely. Do not use it for leisure chatting. And do not flood it with emojis. Although cute kayo ng mga emojis, pero it's not very good nga kanang gigamit siya for educational purposes or something formal nga magbutang-butang ka nagdahang kaing smileys. And if you're a student, use as your teacher told you to do so. So if your teacher told you that the box will be used for the questions, then use it for such. Do not use the chat box to call people out and embarrass them. Butangan nimo dito nga, huy, ang likod ni anak kay abuhan. Iyang likod kay dagang anak. So if you think na iyang likod kay katawanan or what, or disturbing, i-message directly ang person. Don't use that to shame other people. And if you have issues, you message the person directly. And if you're a student and you have been attacked by a fellow student, you have to inform your teacher about it. Kay kabalujud ta nga naging madaghan kay nabully online, pagyud gani nang gihikog tungod aning cyberbullying. So kung naa kay concerns, you have to tell your teacher about it. Now, what about emails? So we expect your students to send as emails if they have concerns or maybe siguro isub for submission, pero sa mole na amang good siya place good po to submit it. But if you are to submit or send an email, I believe that it is important the teacher set rules on how emails are used. So, but what I'm going to say is not only applicable to online classes, but other situations as well, because we don't just use emails for instructional purposes. We use it like all the time to contact other people. So when sending email, be professional and courteous. Bear in mind what your teacher told you, how he or she wanted to be addressed as well. Basin butangan lang nimo dito og pangalan din siyang maestra nga kuan. So dapat na kay salutation, dear Professor Anna. If she wants to be called professor. Kung gusto siya tawagog Miss or Mr., tawaga siya. So kung teacher po ga ing nadaan imong estudyante, how you want them to address you. Kaya basta hindi ka ganahan di ay tawagong kag sa imo lang sa imo first name, hanggang ka-apelido ang gamiton. Professor Anna, apelido. You don't want them to use your first name. So, dapat klaro ni siya at the start. Okay? And that is why it is important that you tell your students, ako na siya nabalik, how you want them to address you. And when you write your message, you have to make it concise. Don't make it too long. So, kung sa dapat imong tuyo, maura to siya imong iingon. And we always forget this, let us use proper spelling, grammar, capitalization, and punctuation. So we think that email can be quite pwede ra siya informal, but if you're talking to your teacher, or ikaw, teacher, mag-send kang message sa student, mas better siya nga naka-formal siya. Okay, and it's very important as well that we put the subject to the email. We sometimes forget this one, that makadawat ang email nga wala siya subject. Matingala ta what it is all about. So, maglisod tag sort unsa di ni siya. So, mas better man na nga pagdawat sa email, makita ng subject, tas kung important kay siya, ma-open gid siya diretso. And do not use all capital letters. This is not just for emails. This is for all other things that we post, because we all know that if we use all capitals, it's equivalent to shouting. So kung tibuok nimo message, naka all capitals ka, mura ka gisinggitan. I think you've tried reading something that was in all caps, mura siya nagsyagit sa imuha, murag inana iyang dating. Okay, and another thing, we have also to be careful on how we use exclamation points or question marks. Kaya pwede siya ma-misinterpret. Kaya kung exclamation, nasuko ka, pinabundak imong pagkaingon. Kung question mark, are you asking or not? Or are you making a statement? So, dapat magbantay ta ani. I think there are things that you can install sa imuhang laptop na mag-check siya og grammar while you make your emails. So, helpful siya nga matarong nimo ang pag-craft sa imong email. It's also very important that we mind the color and the font of type, the type font that we use. Basta nagamit kag red. Tapos, or ang type of font that you use, dili siya formal. So, dapat aware ta ani pirmi. And it's also very important that as future teachers, para sa atong mga estudyante karon naminaw, that you practice this one. Because kung dili ta maanad nga ato ni siyang i-practice nga pamaagi, remember how you act will represent the teaching profession. Another thing, when you are part of a mailing list, for example, daghan ang pasabot aning mailing list, daghan kayo mo makadawat sa email at one time. So gitapok inyong email address dito, kung naay person nga mo send, for example, ang admin, kamo tanan makadawat dungan. So you have to be careful when replying. Kay baka pag-reply nimo, the message that was intended for one person, ang ending, tanan ang nakadawat sa message. Tas ang problema, personal pagid kay siya nga message. So dapat alert ta permi kung mag-send ta. Kay naalang rabay pila ka, I think, seconds or minutes nga ma-unsend siya. After ana, di na gyud siya ma-unsend. So, do not also use a mailing list. Kabalo ka nga part ka sa mailing list. Imo siyang gamiton to flame someone or to make a barrage of angry email directed to one person. Murag didto ka nangitag away ba? So, that's very unprofessional. And be mindful also of forwarding messages in mailing lists. So, remember, daghan kay makadawat sa imong email. So, what if ang other people, they don't like to receive that kinds of mails? Kay naman good putay tendency nga mahilig kita mag-forward og stuff. So, una-una to na siya, Permi. What if these people in the katong mailing list, hindi sila gahan makadawat ana nila, ana nga mga kinds of stuff. So, bantayan nato na siya, Permi. And another thing, when you receive an email from somebody, do not forward it just like that. Ask the person nga, can I forward this email? Because the person who sent you the mail might not want it shared to others, or it's not really meant to be shared to others. And ikaw, as a sender of an email, assume that all mails may not be handled privately. So, kung nakaiingon dito nga kuan, hindi kay kadasalig sa tao, paghunahuna na lang daan before ka mag-send sa imuhang email. Ebidensya manggod kaayo na siya. Kay naabi agad na siya date, kano sa nag-send, unless na lang gihack ang imuhang account. That's why important kayo na you make your account secure. Another thing to remember is to use acronyms sparingly. So not just sa emails, maybe even sa chats, like IMHO for in my humble opinion, or BTW for by the way. And also be careful of humor and sarcasm, especially in written form. So, because it's not everyone that has the same humor or understanding of sarcasm. Ang uban, sarcasm di ito, pero ang dating sa uban dili sarcasm. Ang uban, it was meant to be funny, but for others, it wasn't funny. Because in the online environment, there's no benefit of body language and vocal inflection. And your words can be misinterpreted. That's why ang others, they use emoticons. However, as I've mentioned, use it sparingly because they can be annoying at sometimes. Okay? Then, another thing when sending emails, let's be careful about sending emails about our political and religious views. It's the same with explicit content. Others will not appreciate receiving it. So, pwera na lang kung kabalo ka nga katong taong imong sendan, email na siya ha, ma-appreciate na niya. If you're not very familiar sa choices or sa stand ani nga person, ayaw pataka og send. And do not assume that everybody has the same view as yours. Okay? We have to learn to respect diversity. So we have to be extra careful. Because as I have said, once we send it, naana mo guna siya record. And since we also send messages, we also receive them, right? And it's best that we respond in a timely manner. In the university where I'm doing my study, kabalo mi tanan nga ang professor dapat mo reply siya sa imong email in this number of days. Kung wala gani siya naka-reply, pwede ka mo resend again. Kabalo ana tanan. So mag-wait ka nga in 5 days, mag-expect ka reply. Ang uban antik mo reply. So katong uban pag mulapse na gani ang time, pwede ka mo send again og mail. So kung ikaw teacher, mas better nga ignay mo estudyante nga expect a reply sa inani nga span of time. So kung estudyante pug ka, dili nimo pugso imong teacher nga mag-reply sa imo ha. Nga pwede mag-reply ka right away kay akong concern kay emergency. So kinahanglan sa istorya gyud ni siya daan. So as much as possible, do not let an email sit too long before responding. And if it's the time that you make your response, you apologize that you honestly forgot or you did not have access to your account. Or if you're going on a holiday, you can make an auto reply that I'm on a holiday and I can only attend to your email from this date, starting from this date. So it's also helpful nga we only have like maybe 1 or 2 nga email addresses so that manageable ra ang pag-open sa iya ha. Okay? So, or you tell your students nga, I prefer nga dili ko ninyo emailan, dili sa kani, or dili sa akong Facebook. Okay? So, this should be laid down in class and students should keep this in mind. Okay, in terms of your identity, the ones that you use for your classes, for example, kani karon, it's best that we use our real name. So since gagamit man ta sa platform sa IIT, wala tay choice, manggawas jud atong tinuod nga pangalan. However, ang atong photos, I think we have an option. It's because kita may ga-upload ana. So it is best to use your real photo. And for the teachers, maybe you can ask your students nga tinuod nga photo nila ibutang, dili nila butangan og dagway sa mga artista, sa mga anime or sa mga K-pop, kay para makita nimo ug mailhan nimo sila kung kana mo gawas. Kaya sometimes we don't remember students' names. We remember them by their faces. So important kayo nga naagid siya nawong nga makitaan. Okay? Sa Facebook, wala na jud tay control kay medyo di na siya formal dira. So we tend to dira sa Facebook, dili tinuod nga pangalan, dili po tinuod nga picture. But if you're doing it for your classes, use your real identity. Okay, the next is about creating, posting, and sharing content. So bear in mind to give credit where credit is due. So this is very important, not just for students, but for every one of us. It's something that we sometimes forget and we take it for granted. Tapos late na ito mabalan, wala aglisod na di ay taog o butang kung nato gikan gikuha ang katong phrase or katong statement tas gigamit na nato siya. So not all content online is free. We think that it's on the internet, it's free. No, it's not. Naka-cover gihapon na siya nga ang tag-iya na ang owner jud. Okay? So remember fair use. Acknowledge your sources. So gitudloan kung aware ta sa APA, sa MLA, dapat ato ibutang di na sila gikan. Do not plagiarize. Do not copy the works of others. So the topic fair use is quite long and I believe that is also very important for every one of us, for the students to know and to be reminded of fair use. Even if you say that you use something that you got from the internet for educational purposes, it is an academic obligation to provide proper citation. So you say that I'm going to use this in my class. I don't need to tell them where I got this one. I will pass it off as mine. No, it's wrong. You have to be honest where you got it. Kung di ka ganahan mo himo og list of references, di magunahuna jud kag imuha. Okay? Because sometimes we think we can get away with it. Before we know it, nasakpan na ta. Mo-photocopy tag tibuok libro, ibaligya pa jud nato. So, although ang imo intention is gusto ka imo estudyante na ilibro, pero kung imo na siya ibaligya at a higher price, medyo baka masakpan ka na, pwede naka for copyright infringement. Kaya naamang guna siya measure how much you can use from a book, how much can you use from a source, from pila unsa kadaghan nga music nga imong gamiton. So dapat careful gyud ta ana. Moingon ta nga dili man ta makasuhan ana, pero what if nagpatong-patong na atong gibuhat, tas ma-alert na ang tag-iya sa content. And there are tools online that can detect that you copied someone's work. So I myself, I use Grammarly. I think if you use a paid account, magtanaw gyud niya og ayo nga. For example, you're writing an article and you want, before you submit it, you want to find out how much ang imong na plagiarize unknowingly. It will tell you. Tapos ako gyud siya gitry og open ni adto gyud siya sa katong I think ang iyang ano is katong naa online, pero halos sa magud tanan natong gigamit is gikan siya online. So let us be careful. There is nothing wrong if we put there nga di na siya gikan gyud tinuod. And if you believe, for example, as a student, if you believe that your teacher will not read your posts, so you have to think twice. Okay? So magunahon na ta nga basahon ba ni sa akong maestrang ako ang post? Will I be able to get away with it? So I have an experience that the student copied na forum, ang estudyante gi-copy niya ang answer sa isa ka estudyante kay graded to ang nasa forum. Abi siguro na di magbasa. When I read it, ni ana sa mind, mura man din akong nabasa before. So I went back sa thread, gi-copy jud niya. Ala siya giilisan gamay kaayo pero klaro kaayo. So obviously ang nangapi ang ulahi nag-post. So magunahon na taan nag-ayo. Aya nato siya buhaton. Okay? So mas better imuha gid imong buhaton. And the internet is actually very tempting. So dili lang ang mga estudyante ma-tempt. Bisan ako tempting kayo lami kay mag-copy and paste ug dili na mag-rephrase, mag-reword. Kapoy ka kaya na siya sa tanan. Pero mas better we are on the safe side. Do not be lured by this temptation to pass things off as your own or to freely use available materials or even from printed materials. I think there are countries nga di sila mo allow nga mo photocopy ka og tibuok nga libro. Sa ato ra na siya nga country, I think. Stanford University identified 4 factors for fair use. These are purpose and character of your use. Ang for educational purposes, medyo okay siya, pero naa siya limit. Okay? The nature of the copyrighted work, amount and substantiality of the portion taken out, dili ka pwede mo lift og tibuok chapter sa isa ka libro, ibo-ibutang sa imong thesis. Dili na siya pwede. Okay, and also, lastly, sa fair use, the effect upon the potential market. So, kung mawala na gani sila og kita, for example, yung music, yung art, or yung gihimo nga video, kung medyo na-affected na siya, ma-alarma man na sila. And I cannot talk on this one longer, but I would recommend that for students to read about this one. Kay para aware ta kung unsa day ang angay, how much we can use, and unsaon nato pag-acknowledge. But while you try to be careful on using the works of others, let us also protect our own work. So kung nakaimuhang gihimo nga video, nakaimuhang unya gisulat, mangita kag way unsaon na nimo siya pag-protect. For example, imong photos, kuha kay kamutik og photos, you can use watermark pati sa imuhang video. Kay what if dili ikaw ang manguha pero other people ang manguha and they pass it as their own. Okay, I think you've read about these issues nga na I know of someone na siya photo nga gitake, gibutang niya siyang Facebook page, gigamit sa usa ka newspaper ug wala siya gipahibalo. So even these big companies, pwede naapod sila tendency nga manguha. So ang pag-credit na lang ta ato pag or nananghid nga can we use your photo, nabutang pa jud siya sa front page sa newspaper. So kana ba, we think we can get away with the things that we do. So magunahuna gyud ta twice ana. And in connection to this one, if you want to utilize a source or wish to share it, so mahilig ba kayo na mag-share, or if we are writing an article or if we are writing our thesis, tan-awon nato labi na kung sa internet, di na siya gikan. Is it authentic? Is it true? So butan-aw ka sa lahi na pod nga site to see if valid ba ning mga claims nga gipang-ingon. If you are not very sure, then don't use it. Because it's very dangerous that you might be using a source that is containing wrong information. And for example, you're submitting a paper, pagbasa ng teacher, pataka, di man maway mong gipang sulat dire, then you tell your teacher, I got this from this one. So important kay nga kabalo ka mo evaluate kung unsa di ay ni nga source nga imong angay gamiton. Unsa nga mga pages imong angay saligan. So it's also important that we are careful of the things that we share. Kana di ba mga fake news ta. So ang pinakakuan ani is let us be wise on what we share or the type of content that we use. Okay, next one is let's be careful with posting, whether you created it or you share it. Again, I'm going to repeat with the same with the emails about political and religious views. It's the same goes with explicit content because it might fire up a debate unless you are ready to handle it. Kung ang imong intention, imo siyang i-post or imo siyang i-share, kay gusto ka makigdebate atong imong mga kailang against sa imong panlantaw, then do it. But if you are not ready for a debate or kung makigdebate ka o mahimo ng dakong gubot, then you have to think twice. So, let us bear in mind that the other people or others might have a different view from yours. In social media, we see a lot of this one. And if you don't like to see it, just unfollow. Kay magsakit lang na imong buot na makita na nimo permi ang gipang post sa usa ka tao nga di ka ganahan nimo makita. Do not make post, and you, kung mahilig ka mag-post, do not make post that you are not ready to take responsibility of. While some said, my page, my rules, remember, our actions have consequences. So for future teachers, bear in mind that what you post does not only represent you. Dili lang ikaw. You are part of an educational institution. So maingon sila ka na imong gipang post mga way nada. Maingon sila unsa naman yung mga estudyante sa SED or sa Tagay-IT, unsa man yung gipang post. So dili lang mangguna ikaw. Daghan ang madamay nga pangalan. Dili lang ikaw pati ang pamilya, di ba? Do not assume that everyone has the same view as yours. But as I have mentioned, kung kaya nimo siya panindigan. So be extra careful. Your posts or messages or the messages that you send can be used against you. Kay kung moingong bahalag imo pa na siya i-delete, di ba, ma-screenshot man na siya. So you can't get away with that. And we have seen it in the news that some people got sacked or were told to leave their jobs because of social media blunders. And think that what you post now may affect your future as well, such as when you look for a job. I think nakita niyo sa balita nga na teacher, nadakpan siya, or kaning gatrabaho sa call center, nadakpan sila because of these kinds of issues. Tungod lang na sa gipost sa Twitter, sa Instagram, or gipost sa Facebook. So, murag maghunahuna gyud ka og ayo sa imuhang i-post kay naa gyud na record, 'di ba? Sa Facebook kaya nila kung ano nga gipang edit na ang post, na ay gipang change, kaya siya matrack. So tanan ato ibutang online agi siya record. At the same time, do not use the social media to air out your issues with your classmates, especially your teachers. Do not use it to shame your classmates, your teachers, or other people. If you have concerns with your teachers, talk to them directly about your concerns. Nanong ibutang pa man sa Facebook. I've had an experience with this one that the student has an issue with her grade. She posted it on Facebook. It was a blind item, but when you look at the comments, mugawa siyang ako to ang teacher. So nahibalan gyapon siya, and then I called her attention. But do you think kung wala ko ato kabalo na resolve iyang concern didto? So kita future teachers, careful ta na, talk directly to the person. Don't put it in sa kanang sa social media unless na lang siguro if there are pages in social media nga pwede ka dito magreklamo. I use that. For example, I have issues with a product that I bought. Wala gid gitubag akong email and such, dito ko moadto silang social media account. Di sila ga-respond sa messages. Mo-post na lang ko sa ilang wall to call them out. So, pwede na siya for that purpose. But for you to shame people and not resolve your issues with them privately, magunahon na twice, ana. So, also, it's also dangerous to make threats online because others, they feel really brave when they are behind the screen. Murag, narabitaw ko diri. Wala ka kabalo. Ang person on the other side, grabe kay na siyang effect. So remember, what you do not say, do not say online what you couldn't say face-to-face. So kung dili na nimo kaya iingunaw-nawong, ayaw siya ibutang online. And not everything is fit to be posted online. And this is a very popular mantra now, that think before you post. And another, which is applicable to social media, we have to tag others carefully. So, di ba, ang Facebook na siya auto-tag. Ako, di ko ganahan i-auto-tag ko sometimes. So, pero, ang uban man good, wala imong naong dito. Then, tingnan ka nga naman ko diri. So, careful taan ang pag-tag. So, you have to ask someone if they wish to be tagged. So, kung kabalo ka nga kanimong friend, kamong duha gyud na dagway dito is okay. Pero kung dili kay kakaila sa tao, ayaw mo basta-basta og tag. And do not simply post a picture of it or video of someone. For example, you're having your video conference with your teacher. Imo siyang picture na imo siyang i-post. others will not appreciate it. And you as a teacher as well, dili pasabot nga ato silang estudyante, ang ilahang dagway, pwede po nato siya basta-basta i-post. And if you don't want to be tagged by others, pwede nato siya i-change atong settings, di ba? And also, it's very important that we respect others' privacy. Feeling mura manggod nga tungod sa internet, nagkawala na ang pagka-private sa mga tao. Respect others' privacy. Do not just post other people's numbers, email addresses, their home address, or their locations. If your teacher gave you your contact information, or ikaw, teacher, kabalo ka sa contact information sa imong estudyante, ayaw siya basta-basta ihatag because maybe the purpose that you were given the contact information is for a specific purpose only. It wasn't meant for public consumption. So, kinahanglan, kung sa gatag sa imuha, for example, someone asked the number of your teacher and you have it, you have to tell your teacher first, ma'am or sir, nangayo si kani og number. Is it okay that I give it to him or her? Kay dili man gud na siya ato. Kung imo nang number ay bahala ka kung ahan nimo ihatag. But if it's not yours, ayaw gyud siya basta-basta i-share. And for yourself as well, don't share personal information in a public forum, especially something that you think will compromise your safety or put yourself at risk. So, as future teachers, for the pre-service teachers out there, the things I mentioned are very important for you to remember. So, it's not just in your online classes. So, ang atong na on future teachers, manggod mo, di ba? Taas kaayog panlantaw ang mga tao sa teacher. So, at this point, it's best that we start acting how good teachers should act. You should start practicing netiquette, murag makalma sa tagamay. Remember that when you become teachers yourselves, kung ikaw na teacher, you also have to be respectful on how you reply and interact with students online, as well as you value your students' privacy. I've mentioned this, that it doesn't mean that they are your students. You can just share their works or the information that you have about them. So, unless ng inyong project, gisabutan ninyo daan that when you submit your videos, it will be shared in Facebook. That's fine. But what if ang iyang gisulat nga essay, imong gipost online kay gihimo nimo siyang katawanan, that is wrong. Okay, so in the online classroom, it's important that teachers set and enforce parameters around what is and what is not appropriate behavior. By doing so, the classroom environment becomes open to respectful discourse and conducive to learning and collaboration in a way that it encourages all students, regardless of background or opinion, to share and develop as a community of learners. So once nga napahiya ni mo estudyante sa imong klase, do you think ganahan pa siya mo interact sa inyong online classroom? I don't think so. Although this will look different from school to school or classroom to classroom, the foundation of this is built on a carefully crafted netiquette statement. So for teachers, para aware daw ng estudyante, maghimo tadaan og netiquette statement. What are the rules of engagement that you expect from your students? Setting expectations regarding appropriate behavior and fairly enforcing these expectations isn't just formality. It's a way of ensuring that the online classroom is a safe place to exchange ideas and opinions. So I think the thing that we have to remember with netiquette is being respectful, being polite, being courteous, and being honest. So these are very important for appropriate behavior online. I would like to emphasize that if your teachers, this is for the students, if your teachers commit blunders in your online classes, do not ridicule them. Kay, let's face it, you can be better at technology compared to them. Ang uban, maupay lang paggamit, ana. So for other teachers, the learning curve is quite sharp when they transition to online learning. I emphasize the teachers didn't have that much time to prepare the classes that they have. It is a fact that we were all caught unprepared of the current crisis. Walay nakapangandam ani nga last year nangandam na ni sila daan. Wala. The current crisis is in the education sector is actually true around the world, even in first world countries. Diba daghan kay concern if you read the news? Daghan kaayo pong concerns ang mga teachers o mga students sa Amerika, sa Australia, or sa other parts of the world. And when you become teachers yourselves, it's best that you teach and at the same time model appropriate behavior online. In the future, if you get to teach online, I'm going to repeat, the netiquette statement is very important to help improve the dealings inside your classroom. So I think that is all. Kay murag nataas na di kayo siya sa tanan. Thank you very much.
Okay, so to recap some of the important inputs of our speaker about Netiquette, that even though we are in our homes doing our online learning, we should also manage ourselves by being on time, be presentable, be courteous, and be professional. So thank you so much to our competent speaker for her informative talk about Netiquette. So at this point, we will now entertain questions from our Slido and from our Facebook Live. So Mom Shalani and Mom Dean, I'm encouraging you to um, answer these questions raised by our said students. Madunggan ko, Ma'am.
Ah, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, first question came from our Facebook Live and says, about sa sources na pwede magamit sa students, ma'am, unsay best site to visit para sa study purposes?
Okay, I
About sa
think
sources na pwede magamit sa students, ma'am, unsay best site to visit para sa study purposes?
I believe you're always safe with .edu, mga .gov, mga UNESCO pages. Be careful anang mga blogs. Tapos kung ang uban, there are some professors from other countries, they have their own blogs. Imong i-check kung tinod ang identity, especially when you use the material for submitting to your teacher. So, tanawon ninyo ang tumoy sa site. So, I will repeat, you're always safe with .edu, .gov, mga UNESCO pages. So, kanang mga organizations nga mga well-known and established. So, bantay-bantay ta ng mga blogspot. Ano.
Okay. So, for our next question, one of our said student asked, especially, I'd encourage Ma'am Dean to address this question about graded ba daw ang maka-appeal sa video conferencing? Naabay plus points? So, that's one of the questions of our said student. Graded ba daw ang maka-appeal sa video conferencing? Naabay plus points?
I will answer it or si Ma'am Dean?
Ma'am, you can answer it as well, Ma'am Shalani, but I'm encouraging Ma'am Dean to proper answer this question.
I think at this time, I've mentioned it that we have to be considerate because we don't expect all our students nga naa sila inana nga connectivity at that time. So, if you badly want to have a video conference and ang imong estudyante na gyud siya valid excuse na dili siya ka-appeal, you have to adapt a different activity for that student. Kay it's a fact in the Philippines, wala gyud tay internet tanan nga maayo. So, basin gani ang teacher, diba? So, you have to make, if you want it, and then your students can attend, then they can. Pwede niyo siya i-point. But I would suggest that you also have a separate activity para maka-make up ang mga estudyante na wala, dili sila maka-attend. I think it's being fair to everybody.
And I agree with Shalani. Every faculty member does not require or does not discredit if you cannot attend live video conferencing. We're so flexible right now. We are thinking of our students with limited connectivity. That's why many of our faculty members are recording their lectures. So they are thinking on what way that you could access their resources at your own time when you have internet. So that's why they also prepared some activity where it requires low bandwidth activity. So the responsibility of the students, you must be more responsible right now on how to work with the set activities. For those who have started their classes, you have noticed that your teachers have their syllabus and it is already set what are the activities for the whole semester and how many points. So as a student right now, you must try to look at the syllabus and then try to plan ahead on what way would you perform all the activities set, even you are not always on video conferencing. Okay, so we also encourage that when you do Google Meet with your classes, the teachers are recording it, and then they will post a recorded video either in the Mole classroom or they will post it in your Facebook group. So everyone is giving their best in such a way that even though we don't have the same internet access, we're trying our best that there will be everyone could access the resources at your own time. Just plan it out on how to access the online resources. Okay, my dear students, we are one on this. Be more responsible this time. Thank
Okay.
you.
So another question is raised. What if naay deadline sa mga assignments? Then wa na-pass on time tungod sa connection problems? I-consider ba gihapon? Or late submission? Or di na dawaton? So, that's so mo tang isa sa mga questions sa mga estudyante sa STEM.
I will
So,
answer that one.
That is a very good question. Those questions, I encourage all students that you must ask that to your faculty member as you start the classes. As mentioned by our speaker a while ago, Dr. Shelny, that the classroom policy should be set earlier. And students, I want you to ask questions to your faculty member if they penalize if you submit late submission. But I am asking the faculty members, you set rules to your students in such a way that you know their connectivity problem. I guess the class will going to agree in what way that students will still have equal opportunity even though we have an equal access of internet.
okay.
Okay. So I want everyone to ask all your professor. Your professor are very accommodating on your situation right now. Thank you. On our situation, even your faculty member also have problem with internet.
Yeah. So, another question is raised. Pwede ba ma-report ang teacher if maka-violate siya og rules and regulations sa social media? For example, di pa kaulawan niya ang usa ka student through Facebook or Twitter. So, mo ba mo? Pwede ba daw ma-report ang teacher?
Of course,
Yeah, mention it.
I think it's best first. I think it's best Anna, is to settle it at the lower level. So the teacher will, no, the student will talk to the teacher. Tapos, if not, pwede siya makastorya sa iyang chairman. So, dili man siguro na siya diretso that you file a case unless it's grabe na jud kayo siya sa tanan. So, I think we start at the level sa imong department. So, if it's not fixed at that level, then it will go up, diba? So, you follow the process. But if you feel na nadaot jud kay ka sa tanan, I believe that as students has napod kay right that you have to tell the teacher that you read it and then you make a complaint. Tapos turyahan man na siya sa level sa department. And I think the same goes with the students. Ayaw po mo pang daot sa yung teacher using social media. If you have issues, diba, edukado man tatanan, nag-eskwela tatanan, let us settle it in the level na magkastorya o ayaw dili sa social media. Kaya it's like washing dirty linen in public, which is not good.
Yes, and that's all our questions na gi-raise ato mga said students. And that concludes our forum. And if you have other questions and concerns, Said students, please just leave a comment in our Facebook page at College of Education Executive Council. Again, if you have other questions and concern, please don't hesitate to message us in our Facebook page at College of Education and Executive Council. So, to officially end our webinar, let us welcome our new College of Education Executive Council Governor for the school year 2020-2021, Mr. Jerson E. Abu Abu. Mr. Jerson?
Hello, am I here?
Yes,
Okay.
Gerson, we can hear
Okay,
you.
I would like to thank Assistant Professor Shalani Teresa Piruales for your valuable and clear explanations and insights, experiences, and your time in that you share with us today. We are very grateful of having you as the guest speaker of today's webinar. I would also like to thank the faculty of the College of Education, the the supportive assistant dean, Sir Oswardo Pabatang Jr., Dr. Amelia T. Buan, this dean of the College of Education, and of course the moderator and the College of Education Executive Council officers. Above all, I would like to thank our dear students who joined us in this webinar. I know that the knowledge we have gained and the thoughts we have raised during this webinar will be useful as we immerse ourselves in the inflex learning modality. That's it. Once again, thank you and good noon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Said Governor Jerson Abu Abu. Also, we will post the recorded video of this webinar at our Facebook page so you can review the important inputs of our speaker about Netiquette. So, to talk about our calendar of activities this month, on September 12, we will be going to have a Sednabtanay Virtual General Assembly. On September 19, Leadership Appropriation and Appreciation. September 26, Values Appreciation. Now finally, let us sing our himno ng pamantasan.
Isang katulad mong nagsabog ng liwanag ng pag-asa't hangarin ng kapuluran. Ang buhok ng Mindanao, pinanglaw at pinarangal ng ika'y isilang na dakila at hanggan. Ating ipapapuri itong mga dasal. Ang buhay at pag-ibig sa kalayaan saan man naroon ay bigyang karangalan. Dakilang paaralan, pamantasang Mindanao.
Thank you, Ma'am She. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you, Ma'am D.